The moment this voicemail hit social media, everything exploded. Fans couldn't believe their ears, and suddenly Daniel and Lisa weren't just a couple on a screen anymore. They became the center of a storm no one saw coming. Apparently, someone claiming to be Lisa's ex had recorded a message, and in it, he dropped hints that Lisa wasn't entirely honest with Daniel about her past. People were pausing clips, replaying the audio, and tagging friends, trying to figure out what exactly she could have hidden. Theories started flying faster than anyone could scroll, and within hours, Instagram stories, TikTok reactions, and Twitter threads were lighting up like wildfire. Some fans were convinced this voicemail was proof of a huge betrayal. Others argued it was drama manufactured to stir attention. Hi, I'm Lily, and welcome back to Reality Drama Files, where we break down the juiciest 90-day fiancé moments and dig into the real tension behind the camera. Before we go further, make sure you hit subscribe so you never miss the latest drama, and comment below what you think Lisa might be hiding. Your thoughts could be part of the next big discussion. Everyone watching felt it. The suspense, the shock, the sense that the story we thought we knew had suddenly changed. Questions started piling up. Did she hide a past relationship, something that could actually impact Daniel's trust, or maybe even more serious secrets that could shift the course of their relationship entirely? Fans couldn't stop scrolling to uncover the truth behind Lisa's secret, dissecting every glance she's given on screen, every word she said in interviews, and even the smallest details from past episodes. Social media was relentless, and the story wasn't just unfolding, it was exploding, leaving everyone hanging on each new post and reaction, trying to piece together the mystery that could change everything between Daniel and Lisa. When fans listened to the voicemail, they paused and rewound again and again, because every single word felt like a bomb waiting to explode. The voice on the recording claimed Lisa had been hiding parts of her past from Daniel, dropping lines that sounded so sharp and intentional, it made people's heads spin. She never told him what really happened back home, the voicemail said, and the moment that hit, the chat threads filled with shocked reactions. There's something she's been running from, came the next line, and suddenly speculation wasn't just casual anymore. It became urgent, obsessive, like fans needed to know the truth before it was too late. Every syllable, every pause was dissected as evidence that Lisa might have kept secrets that could shake Daniel to his core. Daniel's reaction didn't stay private for long. His Instagram story appeared hours later, cryptic and tense. Not everything you hear is truth, but every truth has a price. Fans could feel the heartbreak behind those words, the frustration of being caught in the middle of something they didn't fully control. Some noticed the slight tremor in his voice during his recent confessional clips, the way his eyes flicked away when Lisa's name was mentioned. Every subtle cue became a talking point, fueling the narrative that something serious was going on. And that's when questions started piling up, like a storm forming over the couple's future. Was this voicemail really from an ex, or just a fan-fueled rumor spiraling out of control? Could Lisa have a hidden relationship, a secret child, or something else entirely that she hadn't shared? Or was this just the kind of chaos reality TV thrives on, where perception is louder than facts? Fans weren't waiting for answers, they were creating their own, twisting every detail to fit the most shocking scenarios possible. Every new comment online seems to twist the story even further. And suddenly, every old clip, every glance, every word from Lisa feels like a puzzle piece that could confirm or completely change the narrative. Once that voicemail went viral, fans went into full-on detective mode, scrolling through every past clip, every old interview, and every social media post Lisa and Daniel had ever shared. Alleged fan theories started popping up everywhere. TikTok videos dissecting her gestures, Instagram posts reinterpreted as hidden signals, YouTube threads linking minor moments from past seasons to possible secrets. People were hunting for patterns, analyzing the smallest inconsistencies, trying to connect dots that might explain what Lisa had allegedly kept from Daniel. Every picture, every story, every subtle look in a confessional became evidence, fueling the fire of speculation. The psychology behind it is fascinating. Fans latch onto details because when a celebrity or reality star behaves ambiguously, it activates our curiosity and drives us to fill in the blanks. Outrage spreads faster than facts because it's emotional, It feels urgent, it feels important, and it gives viewers a sense of control over the story, even if the truth is unclear. Each time someone shares a new screenshot, a fan video, or a throwback clip, the narrative evolves, twisting with every post. People argue, comment, and take sides, creating an ongoing feedback loop where speculation drives engagement, and engagement drives even more speculation. Meanwhile, Daniel and Lisa remain at the center, whether they respond or stay silent, and every alleged revelation online has fans wondering if the couple can survive the scrutiny. Could these supposed discoveries, old comments, unexplained interactions, or forgotten interviews actually change the trajectory of their relationship? Or is it just the internet amplifying minor details into major drama? Every scroll seems to hint at something new, and fans are relentless, convinced that hidden truths are waiting just below the surface. Every old TikTok or interview could hold the shocking proof fans are looking for, and the hunt continues, with each new post pushing the story further and keeping everyone on edge, waiting for the next bombshell. After the voicemail leaked, Daniel's world didn't stay private for long, and every movement he made was suddenly under a microscope. Fans began analyzing his Instagram story, noting the way he wrote cryptic lines, and watched his notifications spike with every comment and mention. His body language in recent clips seemed different too. Subtle gestures, a tight jaw, a pause before speaking, eyes that darted away when Lisa's name came up, suddenly took on new meaning. People started saying they could feel his heartbreak through the screen, that each confessional wasn't just reality TV, it was raw emotion spilling out under public pressure. The emotional weight on Daniel is undeniable. He's facing confusion, a sense of betrayal, and the relentless scrutiny of thousands of fans dissecting every glance and word. Social media magnifies every insecurity, every pause, and every post, turning private feelings into public fodder. People empathize with him because it's easy to imagine being caught in a whirlwind of suspicion without knowing the full story, yet the public can also be cruel, ready to assign blame before hearing all sides. That tension divides viewers into camps. Team Daniel rallies behind him, insisting he deserves clarity and honesty, while Team Lisa defends her silence, arguing that assumptions and alleged evidence don't tell the whole truth. The debate spills across every platform, each side growing louder, more emotional, and more invested. The pressure is intense, and every subtle expression or cryptic post can be interpreted in multiple ways, leaving fans anxious for any confirmation or contradiction. Every post, every glance, and every Instagram story could either calm the storm or ignite it further. One wrong step online could ignite the internet war between fans, and Daniel's next move might determine whether the story spirals out of control or finally brings a moment of clarity. Lisa hasn't said a word, and that silence is louder than anything she could post. Fans are noticing it immediately. No clarifications, no denials, not even a casual comment to slow the wildfire of speculation. Every missed opportunity to respond is being read as a statement, a signal, or even an admission of guilt. People are scrolling back through her past posts, watching for subtle shifts in tone or timing, trying to decode what her quietness might mean. Some argue she's playing it smart, keeping her cards close while the internet burns with theories, while others believe the silence itself is suspicious, a way to hide something bigger. Fan reactions are intense and immediate. Anger spreads through comment sections, with some accusing her of betrayal, while doubt creeps in as others wonder if she's manipulating the narrative. Curiosity becomes obsession, with every unfollow, every like, and every deleted story turned into evidence of some hidden agenda. Social media becomes a pressure cooker, where silence isn't neutral, it's active. It fuels debates, fan videos, and endless speculation about what might be happening behind the scenes. Behavior experts often point out that in public situations like this, silence is rarely neutral. Humans instinctively interpret inaction as intentional, especially when stakes are high and emotions are running wild. Online, the stakes are magnified tenfold, and viewers are primed to read meaning into every detail. Fans assign motives, construct theories, and judge character based on absence alone, and that cycle only accelerates as each hour passes. Every day she stays quiet, the internet's frenzy grows louder, with people dissecting every possible reason for her silence, wondering if it's a clever strategy, a calculated delay, or a sign that something heavier is waiting to emerge, keeping Daniel, the fans, and the entire story teetering. On the edge of the next reveal, As the speculation continued, fans started connecting dots across Lisa's past dating history, interviews, and every verified media appearance she'd ever done. Old clips from previous seasons were pulled up, where her answers to seemingly harmless questions were re-examined, and fans argued over tiny gestures, the tone of her voice, or a glance that seemed out of place. Every confession, every laugh, every casual reference from years ago suddenly became evidence in what felt like an unfolding mystery. People were linking patterns in her decision-making, her communication style, and even her emotional responses, trying to predict what she might do next and whether there were secrets she had successfully hidden from Daniel. The analysis didn't stop at behavior. Viewers began dissecting her social media timeline, noting gaps, deleted posts, and interactions with people from her past, all interpreted as clues to a deeper story. Emotional intelligence, or what fans perceived as it, became part of the narrative. Was she being strategic, careful, manipulative, or merely cautious? Each theory carried weight because it seemed to fit the unfolding drama. Yet the line between what was verified and what was speculation blurred with every new post and comment. Every fan seemed to have a new angle, a new connection, or a new piece of evidence that made the story bigger, darker, and more suspenseful. Some theories escalated faster than others. Was there a secret child no one knew about? An ex who still had influence over her life? Or something tied to her visa status that could explain her hesitation to be fully transparent? While none of this has been confirmed, fans were relentless, convinced that each tiny detail could unravel the entire story they thought they knew about Daniel and Lisa. Fans are now convinced the voicemail is just the tip of the iceberg, and as every thread, every clip, and every comment is pulled into the frenzy, the drama grows deeper, more tangled, and impossible to look away from. As the drama escalated, social media turned into a wildfire that no one could control. TikTok users were recreating clips of Daniel's expressions, overlaying the voicemail audio, and adding dramatic captions like he doesn't even know the half of it. Instagram stories exploded with polls asking followers if Lisa was hiding something, while YouTube comment sections became arenas where fans debated fiercely, dissecting every small gesture and word from old episodes. Fan pages posted compilations of her past moments, some highlighting behavior that could now be interpreted as suspicious, while others poked fun, turning tension into meme gold. Every new post seemed to spark dozens more, as the story multiplied across platforms, moving faster than anyone could keep up with. Behavior online became a spectacle in itself. The online mob mentality amplified everything. Minor actions turned into major evidence, jokes were interpreted as subtle digs, and rumors spread like wildfire in echo chambers where fans reinforced each other's suspicions. People weren't just watching, they were participating, creating content, resharing, commenting, and fueling the frenzy. Humor became a coping mechanism, with sarcastic captions and memes mocking Daniel's expressions or Lisa's silence, but even the jokes carried an undercurrent of tension, making the story feel bigger and more dramatic. Every clip and remix made it seem as if the entire internet was obsessing over this one voicemail, one moment, one relationship. Daniel's next move now feels like it could change everything. Fans are watching for a sign, a comment, or a story that might clarify the mystery or ignite another round of chaos. The tension is palpable, and every online reaction feels like a ticking clock counting down to the next reveal. Every meme and clip online only adds fuel to the fire, and as the story spreads further across platforms, the frenzy grows louder, leaving fans glued to their screens, waiting for the next explosive moment. The tension between Daniel and Lisa has never felt so real, and viewers are sensing the stakes rising with every passing moment. Every interaction is under scrutiny, and even small gestures, like the way Daniel hesitates before responding, or how Lisa avoids direct eye contact, take on amplified meaning. Fans are dissecting these moments, convinced that miscommunications and half-spoken truths could unravel months, even years, of effort to build trust. The emotional weight is heavy, Daniel's heartbreak and confusion are tangible, while Lisa's silence keeps everyone guessing. Are these pauses strategic, a way to navigate public pressure, or do they hide deeper secrets that could disrupt the foundation of their relationship entirely? Fan obsession, only intensifies the drama. Every comment, share, and reaction online feels like a spotlight on the couple's private lives, turning personal decisions into public spectacle. Social media isn't just observing, they're influencing. Fans theorize, judge, and debate, and the pressure feeds back into the narrative of the show itself. Every confessional, every posted story, even a deleted TikTok, is interpreted as evidence of intentions, loyalty, or deceit. The more people speculate, the more Daniel and Lisa are forced to react or choose silence, and each choice carries consequences that ripple across platforms and fan communities. The relationship is teetering, caught between the truth fans see, the perceptions they create, and the moments Daniel and Lisa share behind the cameras. The question on everyone's mind is simple but urgent. Will trust survive this storm, or is this the tipping point where everything cracks? Every decision now matters more than ever, and the smallest misstep could change the entire trajectory of their story. The next public move could either fix or shatter their entire story, leaving fans holding their breath, waiting to see if loyalty, honesty, and connection can survive under the unrelenting pressure of millions watching and judging. Watching this unfold, there's a lot we can observe about behavior without pointing fingers. Trust is fragile, and honesty, or the perception of honesty, shapes how relationships survive under pressure. Daniel's reactions show what happens when uncertainty meets love in a public spotlight, and Lisa's silence reminds us how communication, or lack of it, can be interpreted in countless ways. Every glance, every post, every carefully chosen word carries weight. And in relationships, the small details often speak louder than any grand gesture. Fans have seen how quickly speculation can spiral, how emotions flare, and how misinterpretation can grow into viral drama almost instantly. There are lessons for all of us. Pay attention to clarity in communication, because even minor gaps can lead to massive misunderstandings. Notice how emotional intelligence plays a role. Daniel's sensitivity and Lisa's strategic silence are fueling reactions, proving that human behavior is layered and complex. And it's fascinating to see how curiosity, obsession, and the need to fill in blanks drive online communities, showing us that social media doesn't just report events, it magnifies them, twists them, and sometimes makes them feel bigger than life itself. The frenzy isn't just entertainment. It reflects human instincts, the urge to uncover secrets, the desire to take sides, and the thrill of connecting dots, even when the picture is incomplete. For viewers, it's a reminder that behind every clip, every post, every viral moment, there's nuance, context, and emotion that may not be immediately visible. Sometimes what we see online is only half the story, and it's explosive. Fans are left guessing, questioning, and craving more, while the truth remains just out of reach, ready to shock everyone when it finally comes to light. As everything unfolds, the emotional arc between Daniel and Lisa reaches a crescendo. The leaked voicemail, Daniel's cryptic posts, Lisa's silence, and the fan-driven frenzy have created a storm that shows no sign of slowing. Each moment has layered tension onto the last, transforming what once seemed like typical reality TV drama into a psychological and emotional roller coaster. Fans have watched theories collide, opinions clash, and emotions flare, all while Daniel tries to navigate heartbreak and confusion in real time. The stakes have never been higher, and every subtle reaction from either of them feels like it could tip the balance. The rumors, speculation, and intense scrutiny have turned the couple's story into more than a series of episodes. It's now a public obsession. Daniel's vulnerability has drawn empathy from fans, while Lisa's strategic silence has created endless debate, splitting viewers into camps and sparking relentless commentary online. Every post, every glance, every pause has been analyzed, dissected, and debated as fans try to predict what comes next. The internet has become a lens, magnifying every decision, every word, every hesitation, making the drama feel immediate, personal, and impossible to ignore. Yet even with all this intensity, the story is far from over. Questions linger. Will Daniel confront Lisa directly or continue to let silence speak? Are there truths still hidden behind the scenes, waiting for the right moment to surface? And how will the next revelations reshape the perception of their relationship, the loyalty of their fans, and the path of their future together? The tension built over weeks of speculation is about to meet reality in a way that could completely change everything fans thought they knew. The next reveal could rewrite everything fans thought they knew, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats, counting down the moments until the next twist, and wondering how Daniel and Lisa will survive the storm that has only just begun.
To the king is the highest honor to our culture. This will be the way to prove to Lisa I respect her a lot, and I am committed to her.
Oh my God, this is a king. He looks like a king. He's wearing lion head and this headdress, and I feel like I'm gonna myself.
Why are you laughing? Did you see me laugh?
No, my king.
Lisa couldn't stop laughing, and in that exact moment, everything hung in the balance, because the king of Daniel's tribe was standing right in front of her, eyes sharp, expression unreadable, and a single misplaced giggle from her could cost Daniel the blessing he had worked so hard to earn. A blessing that carried centuries of tradition and respect, and maybe even determined whether this cross-cultural marriage could move forward without scandal. Hi, I'm Lily from Reality Drama Files. And today, we're going to witness one of the most tense, awkward, and borderline hilarious encounters in 90 Day Fiancé history, so make sure you subscribe and drop a comment predicting what you think will happen before the king makes his final call, because your guesses might be closer than you think. Lisa had imagined this moment 100 times, picturing herself in some fairy tale palace with chandeliers, grand halls, and a sense of majesty that matched the stories Daniel had told her, but the reality could not have been more different. A modest home, serious faces, and an atmosphere so charged with authority that even breathing felt like it could be misinterpreted, and every movement she made was under scrutiny. Every smile weighed against the cultural rules she barely understood. Daniel stood beside her, calm but visibly tense, trying to remind her silently of the importance of every gesture, every word, and every sign of respect. Because this wasn't just a formality, it was a living tradition, a test of her character, and a reflection of his own commitment to both her and his family. And yet, the more he tried to steady her, the more her nervous laughter bubbled out, awkward and high-pitched, echoing through the room and drawing the king's eyes directly to her. And the audience could feel the electricity of the moment, the mix of horror, humor, and suspense. Will Lisa's charm and effort be enough to survive this cultural gauntlet? Will the king see past her nerves and grant the blessing? Or has a single laugh already tipped the scales? Something happens next in this encounter that no one saw coming. A shift in the room that changes the energy completely and makes you question who is really in control of this situation. Lisa had built the moment up in her mind for weeks, picturing towering gates, golden chandeliers, and rooms so grand she could almost hear imaginary trumpets announcing her arrival. She imagined herself gliding through a palace worthy of a movie set, thinking surely this is how royalty must live. And in her daydreams, every step she took was graceful, every smile perfect, and the king would nod in approval, dazzled by her charm, completely unaware that reality rarely matches imagination. But as soon as she stepped inside, the contrast hit her like a splash of cold water. There were no towering halls, no glittering chandeliers, no sweeping carpets leading to some majestic throne, just a modest home, walls plain, and yet every inch of the room carried an undeniable weight. And authority that made even the furniture seem intimidating, because in this space, it wasn't about opulence. It was about respect, heritage, and the subtle power that came from centuries of tradition, and Lisa's nerves spiked the moment she realized she had to navigate this world carefully. Every gesture, every laugh, every bow under scrutiny. Daniel, standing beside her, exuded a quiet intensity, his eyes scanning the king's face, subtly guiding Lisa with his presence. Because for him, this blessing wasn't a ceremonial formality, it was a recognition of respect, a proof of commitment, and a bridge between his world and hers. And he knew. One wrong move could unravel weeks of preparation, turning a hopeful day into a disaster. Lisa's imagination clashed violently with the reality before her, and the audience could almost feel her stomach drop with every step toward the king. Will she catch on fast enough to adapt? Or will the difference between expectation and reality overwhelm her before she even has a chance to show respect? The moment was ticking, and every second counted. Lisa froze the instant she laid eyes on the king, her heart hammering like a drum, her palms slick with sweat, and a nervous laugh escaping her lips before she could stop it. Because the man standing in front of her wasn't just any elder. He carried centuries of authority in the way he held himself, in the weight of his gaze, in the ritualistic air that made even Daniel hesitate for a moment, reminding Lisa silently that she was walking on sacred ground. Every movement she made seemed amplified, every shift of her eyes scrutinized, and, as she tried to bow gracefully, her awkward stumble only drew more attention, making her laugh again, high-pitched and jittery, and she immediately realized it might have been the wrong reaction in this context, though it was impossible for her to know exactly what would be taken as respectful versus disrespectful. The king, calm yet commanding, remained seated, letting silence fill the room, and the attendants flanking him barely moved. A subtle reminder that this wasn't about theatric. It was about adherence to tradition, about testing whether someone from another world could navigate rules they didn't fully understand, and Lisa, wide-eyed, struggled to mask the combination of awe, confusion, and fear that churned inside her. Daniel leaned slightly forward, whispering reminders that only he could give, but every word was drowned in the gravity of the moment, because the king's presence wasn't something you could negotiate. It had to be earned. And yet Lisa's exaggerated reactions, jumping at small gestures, fumbling with her words, giggling when she probably shouldn't, made the tension almost unbearable, while also undeniably entertaining from an outside perspective, the kind that makes viewers wince and laugh at the same time. One small misstep, one wrong laugh, and everything Daniel had worked for could unravel. A single gesture potentially undoing the hours, days, and weeks of preparation, leaving everyone to wonder if Lisa would survive this encounter intact, or inadvertently tip the scales against them both. That Lisa's nerves were spiraling, each breath shaky, each blink a tiny battle against the wave of panic that threatened to take over, because every second in that room felt heavier than the last, and her mind raced with worst-case scenarios. What if she laughed at the wrong moment? What if she failed to bow properly? What if she somehow insulted a man whose authority carried generations of tradition? A mistake that could undo Daniel's careful planning and leave her humiliated and the blessing denied. She shifted her weight, her stomach fluttering, her hands twisting nervously, and Daniel leaned closer, his voice calm but firm, reminding her subtly which gestures mattered, when to lower her gaze, when to speak, and when silence was actually more respectful than any attempt at charm, all while hoping that his gentle guidance could override her instinctive American-style overthinking. Lisa tried to nod, tried to smile, tried to follow every cue, but the tension was almost comical from the outside, like watching someone navigate a labyrinth they didn't even know existed, fumbling at each turn, while the walls quietly judged them. Then, the king's gaze shifted slightly, a question lingering in his eyes that didn't need words. A quiet, subtle challenge asking whether she truly understood her role here, whether her intentions were sincere, or if she was merely performing for appearances. And Lisa froze, unsure if she should answer with words, gestures, or continue her nervous mimicry of respect, while Daniel's jaw tightened, realizing the stakes had just risen without anyone saying a thing, because this wasn't a moment you could recover from with an explanation. Lisa's laughter bubbled up again. Tiny, nervous, completely inappropriate in context, and the audience could feel her lost in translation panic, simultaneously endearing, exasperating, and anxiety-inducing, while the king's unreadable reaction made every second feel like walking a tightrope over a pit of unseen consequences. Will her next move calm the storm or push the blessing out of reach entirely? Everything depended on her ability to read a culture she barely understood. The king's eyes seemed to follow Lisa everywhere, calm yet piercing, measuring every twitch of her fingers, every shift of her weight, every forced smile, and it became painfully obvious that this was more than a greeting. It was a test, a subtle yet precise evaluation of whether she could navigate a world so far from her own, where timing mattered as much as intention, and even a single laugh at the wrong moment could be read as defiance or disrespect. Lisa tried to straighten herself, to breathe quietly, to keep her face neutral, but her nervous energy betrayed her. Little giggles slipping out when she hoped no one noticed, gestures overdone as if exaggeration could replace understanding, and the awkward compliance made her seem endearing yet catastrophically unprepared at the same time. Daniel watched from beside her, alert and tense, hoping that his explanations and her effort could bridge the gap between two entirely different cultural expectations, but even he knew that one misstep could unravel the delicate thread connecting Lisa's presence to the blessing he was desperate to secure. The audience could feel the suspense, knowing that the king wasn't simply observing, he was interpreting, translating every sign and deciding whether her actions reflected sincerity or ignorance, respect or casual amusement. And with each moment, Lisa's internal monologue spiraled between hope and dread, thinking she was doing well while still fumbling in ways invisible to her. And while all eyes were on her, Daniel's own intentions hovered in the background like a shadow, subtle yet present. Because as much as this ceremony was about Lisa proving herself, it was also about Daniel proving that he was genuine, that his motives weren't only tied to personal gain or a green card, and the audience was left wondering, as tension built, whether the blessing might hinge not only on Lisa's behavior, but on his credibility too. A quiet but powerful layer of suspense that would pay off later in ways no one expected. Lisa had to walk a tightrope she barely understood, and one small misstep could tip everything into chaos. Daniel stepped forward, his voice steady, but loaded with urgency, trying to thread the needle between respect for the king's authority and the desperate need to protect Lisa from the consequences of her nervous energy, explaining in careful, measured words how hard she had tried to understand every custom, every gesture, and every rule, emphasizing her sincerity and her willingness to adapt, because he knew the difference between this moment succeeding and failing could shape not only their immediate future, but the perception of his family, his culture, and even his own judgment in the eyes of the king. Lisa stood frozen beside him, cheeks flushed, eyes wide, knowing that every syllable Daniel spoke carried weight beyond her own mistakes, and the possibility of having the blessing denied hovered like a storm cloud over the room, threatening to ruin months of planning, to crush her confidence, and to leave her stranded in a cultural space she didn't yet fully understand. From a psychological perspective, the tension was fascinating. Embarrassment, fear, and reverence were all intertwined, and the king's calm but scrutinizing presence magnified Lisa's anxiety, creating a feedback loop where her nervous reactions made Daniel's explanation even more critical, yet also more vulnerable to misinterpretation. The audience could almost feel the energy in the room, the way authority imposes itself silently but powerfully, and how the human brain reacts under that kind of pressure. Sometimes laughing at the wrong moment, sometimes freezing, sometimes overcompensating with gestures that look unnatural. And yet, there was humor woven through Lisa's attempts at composure, her exaggerated bows, her quick glances, her whispered, almost panicked acknowledgement of Daniel's cues, which made her simultaneously relatable and entertaining, showing that high stakes don't have to erase human awkwardness. All eyes were on the king now, the moment stretched taut with suspense, as Daniel's careful words hung in the air, and the question remained, will the king accept his explanation and forgive Lisa's missteps, or has the combination of nervous laughter and cultural tension pushed the blessing out of reach entirely, leaving both of them on uncertain ground? Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the king's stern expression softened, a subtle shift that sent a shiver of relief through Lisa's body, her tense shoulders dropping slightly, as if she'd been holding her entire nervous system in suspension, and for the first time, she allowed herself to breathe a little more freely, though her wide eyes still darted around the room, unsure of what gesture might still earn disapproval. Every careful nod, every slightly trembling bow, and even the occasional awkward smile now seemed to be interpreted in her favor, and Daniel's presence beside her provided a quiet anchor, a reminder that effort and sincerity could carry weight even when understanding was incomplete. The audience could see the contrast clearly, Lisa, jittery and overthinking every movement, while the king radiated calm authority, unflinching yet responsive, a living lesson in how respect is earned and demonstrated, and how patience in leadership can transform fear into trust. This was more than ceremony, it was a behavioral lesson, showing that people navigate unfamiliar social codes differently, that cultural expectations demand attention, and that even small gestures can tip the balance between rejection and acceptance. Lisa's nervous compliance began to feel almost triumphant, a blend of relief and continued anxiety as she realized she was being guided safely through a world she barely understood, and the king's acknowledgement, subtle though powerful, reinforced the importance of humility, listening, and timing in high-stakes interactions. And yet, Just as the tension began to lift, the narrative hinted at a twist waiting at the end of the ceremony, something no one could predict, a reminder that even moments of relief can hold unexpected consequences, and that the story wasn't over simply because the king had begun to show leniency. Lisa's exaggerated reactions, from forced smiles to jittery bows, contrasted sharply with the king's measured calm, creating a scene that was both suspenseful and humorous, making the audience feel her vulnerability while also marveling at the intricate dance of respect and cultural navigation playing out before their eyes. Just when Lisa thought the worst was behind her, the king leaned forward, eyes gleaming with an unreadable spark, and instructed her to laugh, not nervously, not hesitantly, but in perfect sync with him, a command that turned her relief into a fresh wave of anxiety, because timing mattered more than ever, and one misstep could still erase all the progress she'd made. Her first attempts were shaky, high-pitched giggles that made Daniel's jaw tighten, but slowly she found the rhythm, mimicking his laughter while her pulse raced, and in that strange, tense exchange, the audience could feel the blend of terror, humor, and fascination that made the moment so compelling. Then, almost casually, the king extended a hand to Daniel, a subtle yet overwhelming demonstration of authority, inviting him to hold Lisa as a symbolic acknowledgement of the blessing, a gesture layered with meaning, asserting power while showing trust, and suddenly the stakes shifted. This wasn't a mere formality. It was a living lesson in hierarchy, respect, and negotiation, and Daniel's heartbeat was now competing with Lisa's jittery giggles. From the outside, it was equal parts absurd and awe-inspiring. Lisa's exaggerated compliance, her cautious smiles, her trembling hands, all juxtaposed with the king's calm, unshakable presence, created a scene that was simultaneously comedic, suspenseful, and emotionally charged. A perfect storm of human behavior under pressure. The narrative pulled viewers into the subtle psychology at play: fear of authority, relief at partial acceptance, curiosity about what cultural rules might come next, and admiration for Daniel's careful navigation of his dual responsibilities to Lisa and tradition. And yet, even in this moment of apparent triumph, there was a quiet tension lingering in the background, a whisper of questions about motives and intentions, because as much as Lisa had survived the ceremony, the audience couldn't help but wonder if Daniel's personal goals, including the green card subplot, were quietly influencing everything, hinting that the blessing might be just one piece in a far larger, more complicated puzzle waiting to unfold. The room held its breath as the king leaned back slightly, a hush settling over everyone as he appeared to consult unseen forces, ancestors whose judgment carried weight beyond words, and for a moment, Lisa's nervous smile faltered, her body tense, her thoughts racing through every awkward gesture, every high-pitched laugh, every misstep she had made, wondering if it had been enough. Then, finally, the king spoke, a measured, commanding tone that echoed across the room, confirming that Lisa was accepted, that the ancestors had blessed the union, and that Daniel could now move forward with the approval he had sought so desperately, and the relief that washed over him was almost tangible, a mix of triumph, gratitude, and still subtle anxiety for the next steps. Lisa's own reaction was a blend of awe, disbelief, and jittery happiness, her body still vibrating from the intensity of the emotional roller coaster, and the audience could almost feel her pulse, empathizing with the sheer weight of having survived a cultural test that was as invisible as it was exacting. Yet even in the glow of victory, the narrative teased darker undertones. Daniel's intentions, while publicly aligned with respect and devotion, remained a question mark, leaving viewers to speculate about whether the blessing was purely about love or if ulterior motives, green cards, personal gain, strategic timing, might be quietly influencing every action. A reminder that human behavior is never one-dimensional and that appearances can mask complexity. The tension between relief and suspicion made every smile, every bow, every whispered acknowledgement loaded with double meaning, creating a delicate interplay between comedy, suspense, and human psychology. And while the blessing officially marked success, the narrator hinted that the drama was far from over, suggesting that these unresolved motives, subtle power dynamics, and personal agendas could ripple into future conflicts, shaping the marriage in ways the audience hadn't yet seen. keeping viewers curious, engaged, and eager to see how the next chapter would unfold. Because in this story, approval from the king was only the beginning. As the ceremony drew to a close, Lisa exhaled like she hadn't realized she'd been holding her breath for hours, her hands finally relaxing, her posture loosening, and for the first time, there was a subtle confidence in her movements. A recognition that she had navigated a world entirely foreign to her and emerged with the king's blessing intact, a personal victory that spoke as much to her effort as it did to Daniel's careful guidance and the patience of everyone around them. Daniel, visibly relieved, allowed himself a small smile, knowing that this approval wasn't just ceremonial, it represented trust, respect, and a bridge between cultures. A moment where his dedication to tradition and to Lisa intersected perfectly, yet with the faintest shadow of uncertainty still lingering. A reminder that even triumphs carry complexity. The audience could see the layers of human behavior at play, Lisa's nervous energy transforming into proud composure, Daniel's strategic advocacy demonstrating loyalty, and the king's calm authority reinforcing the power of patience, observation, and subtle guidance, offering lessons in communication, empathy, and the delicate art of navigating unfamiliar social codes without losing authenticity. Humor lingered in the small human moments, the jittery laughs, the over-earnest bows, the slightly wide-eyed glances, but it never undercut the emotional stake, instead highlighting the contrast between fear, respect, and relief, making the entire scene simultaneously entertaining and insightful. And as the camera lingered on their final moments together, the narrator invited the audience to weigh in. Had Lisa truly earned the king's respect, or was this blessing more about Daniel's ability to manage the situation? What would happen if the unseen tensions, personal motives, and Daniel's secret past resurfaced? Because while today ended with celebration, the story was far from finished. Next time, we'll see if Daniel's hidden history will finally catch up with him, testing trust, loyalty, and the foundation of this cross-cultural marriage, leaving viewers on edge, curious, and laughing through the suspense all at once, knowing that in this saga, every blessing carries a potential twist, and every smile might hide a storm.